Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay? Is this working?
What?
Can you hear me? Hi, everybody. We're here today to honor and be thankful. And I'm especially thankful because I was blessed to have one of the best friends ever in Greg DePauw. And it's kind of cool with his can-do spirit that was infectious to everyone. And he was gregarious is the word, yeah, means friendly, right? So it's a good name. Greg was always like that in grade school and everything. And they say opposites attract sometimes, but also likenesses attract. And me and Greg found out we were a lot alike in grade school. We were both pretty ADD. Couldn't concentrate on our studies real good, so we'd draw these little funny shape on a piece of paper and hand it to each other. And the other person would make a funny creature or funny weird face or funny thing out of it, and we'd call them squiggle drawings. And it was funny because we've both used those for years as we taught art and different things. But as we grew and went into high school, we grew more and more together, but we just loved adventure, and we just loved life like crazy. And we were always having fun and doing crazy things. Yeah, I'll have to share at least one story here. One of the craziest things we did was when we were sophomores in high school, Greg and another one of our best buddies, Freddie Schramm, were working at the Standard gas station uptown, and we were like sophomores in high school, and I come blasting up to visit with them, you know, on my motorcycle, and they had a state cop car in there to get work done the next week. And we were real creative, of course, and everything, artists, and we're goofing around with this state cop car, and we take one of the cherries off the top, and lo and behold, there's a set of car keys in there. So we were a little rough around the edges growing up. And as any hyper-creative sophomores in high school that are creative and into having a lot of fun, we opened up the trunk and there's all these weapons and everything in there in our uniform. And what are you going to think? Except, let's make a movie. So Greg ran and got his dad's movie camera. Freddie Schramm put on the officer's uniform. We thought up a quick plot, and I became a motorcycle terrorist guy, cutting donuts in the parking lot of the thing, and then Freddie comes in dressed as a cop and comes into the gas station, and I pull a knife out of my boot, and we get in a little ruckus. And at least we had the sense to at least bring it inside. Where I was searched, and he found all these weapons on me and everything, and our other friend, Freddie, was having a great time with police brutality on his friend, you know, after all the things we'd been to. But the next day in school in chemistry class, a kid comes up and says, "Fred, what happened to you? We were coming home from church and saw you in a fight with a cop in front of the Standard station." Ah! So the can-do spirit could have gotten us in trouble, but we put everything back the way it was, and the cop never ever said anything, never found out. So that was pretty wild. That was one of our stories, but I could go on for hours, which I won't, of different things. But so me and him, we were just in love with life and doing all kinds. We were inventing extreme sports before that word was even invented. Different things with sleds and all kinds of stuff, and all of a sudden, it seemed to come to a complete stop. I went to school. Because he was really good jumping on a trampoline. And he invited everybody over after the King and I play to his house for a little party. And I was in the play, so I wasn't there. But he told me later, Fred, I kind of snuck a few of Dad's beers and started doing tricks to impress everybody on the trampoline, which probably isn't a good idea to drink and tramp. But anyway, he tried a double or triple flip with a half twist or whatever it was. I wasn't there, but he broke his neck. And I don't find out till I pull up on my motorcycle to school the next day. And the other kid that was an acrobat in the play goes, "Fred, did you hear about Greg? He broke his neck last night." So, as any best friend would, I go, "I gotta see him, you know? I gotta see if he's okay." So, I took off on my motorcycle to the ER room, or the ICU he was in at that time. And I'm going up to the nurse at this thing. I go, "I gotta see my best friend. He's hurt, you know." And she says, "No, only family can see him." And I go, "What?" You know, I'm his best friend. She says, "No, that's the rules." So as a good best friend, can-do spirit guy would do, I waited till she was talking to somebody else, and I snuck in the side door. So as a kid in high school, I'm looking behind all these curtains in the intensive care unit, and I'm like, whoa, you know, accident victims and everything. And all of a sudden, I open one, and there's my buddy. And he's face down with this, they call it a halo, with spikes in his head, with traction. And it looked like something out of a sci-fi, you know, movie. But I tried to cheer him up, and we brought him little monkeys to hang on there, you know, and it'd spin every once in a while. And I think one of those monkeys he's carried with him on all his trips and stuff. He called him, what is it, Socket? Sockis the monkey, the sock monkey. And he's in there with him right now. But anyway, Greg was amazing. I took it harder, I think, than he seemed to. He says, "Well, broke my neck, you know." I go to a German class, and his girlfriend that he dated for a long time and he had broken up with, that's how he was, you know, in the middle of German class. And we both started bawling in the middle of German class when I told her, you know, the doctor said he'd never walk again. But then here's Greg. He didn't even hardly show signs of, you know, anger, depression and stuff. He just like accepted. He was wild. He started drawing with his mouth on a little thing. We didn't know if he'd get even any of his arms back. Then he started getting some of his hands and arms back and started doing amazing artwork over the years, as you guys have seen. But years passed, and we did art together, and still we would have all kinds of great fun times together. He never missed a beat. It's like, you know, the can-do spirit is talk about making the best of a bad situation. We went on and on. I could go on with many stories, which I won't. But we also made I Have a Hunch It's Time for Lunch movie, it was, in high school for an English class where Greg was like running the whole time. What's that? Yes, really. And the plot was that a kid stole this secret potion to make monsters from the chemistry lab and put it in his milk drink, and he drank it, and he turned into this monster and was terrorizing Metamora, Peoria, all over the place. And stuff happened in that movie. It's funny, but he's just running and running like the Energizer Bunny. One kid, he ran, this was when his masks first came out, you know, and people didn't know much about him, but we didn't even know it till we were watching the film. He ran up to this one kid and yelled at him and then took off running. And when we watched the film, the kid fainted. We didn't even know while we were filming. We just kept on filming. Poor kid just fell over like a sack of potatoes. But anyway, Greg was crazy. Even in grade school, his dad says, you can't have a dirt bike because I was in dirt bike racing and stuff, because it's too dangerous. So Greg soups up this garden tractor. Back in Black Partridge Park, before it was the Black Partridge Park, we'd make trails and have hill climbs. He's trying to climb hills with a souped up garden tractor, which was probably more dangerous than a dirt bike. So it could have happened way before then. Well, I'd like to say a story happened about two years ago. Greg was in the hospital, and he was not doing good. He had plumbing problems and all kinds of things going on, kind of a little bit how he just had this past week and stuff. And I'm going up to visit him, and he's going, Fred, I think I'm dying. And, and he looked real worried. And I says, Greg, you know, Bible talks about, you know, if we make it to heaven, we get a new body where it can never be hurt. We can be like cartoon characters, fall off a cliff and keep running, you know, and all this stuff. But he still seemed worried and everything, and he wasn't sure, you know, about going that way. He was really thought he was dying. I go, well, Greg, you know, in the Bible, you know, I've Bible reader and, you know, everything. And I go, remember the thief on the cross? He made sure he was right with the Lord right the last minute. And he did the simple, basic, you know, gospel like you read in the book of the Acts, that he realized he was a screw up a lot like we've all been, and he turned from being a screw up and stood up for Jesus. And he even stood up for Jesus on the cross to the other thief. And what did Jesus say to him? He said, tonight I'll see you in paradise. And Greg seemed like that and everything. And so we had a good prayer time and made sure, you know, his heart was right with the good Lord. And guess what? He didn't die. He started getting better. And we had the blessings of him for another 2 years. He started having porch parties for people and the burger bake-offs and all this stuff, which would probably keep some of that going. But I wanted to end on a little thing here, what I think about Greg. It was brought up that it's a cool thing if life hands you lemons to make lemonade. Well, to me, Greg was like, his attitude and everything from the get-go is amazing. All the artwork he did and all the people he touched and all the kids he helped with art and all this stuff. So Greg didn't make lemonade out of lemons. He made Mountain Dew. And let's just call it Mountain Can Do, because that's what he did. He could and he did. And I'm looking forward. So to honor him, I'm thinking, let's all get that can-do spirit like he had. With our lives, you know, we all go through trials and struggles, and, you know, it's rough down here, losing people you love, everything. Let's have the can-do spirit Greg had to, you know, use our talents and use them for the good Lord and be up there with Greg having a great big porch party one of these days. Thank you, and I love y'all. I know Greg does too. Maybe he's up there on a little video watching us.